Good morning, Facebook. Buenos días. Feliz día del mes de la herencia hispana, la celebración de herencia hispana. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Gail, me llamo Gail, and I am a bookseller here at New Story Community Books. Yo trabajo aquí en New Story Community Books, una biblioteca en Marshall. We are a bookstore in downtown Marshall, Michigan. And as you can see, I am going back and forth between Spanish and English just to celebrate our Hispanic Heritage Month. And for anybody who has not already done so, please like our page, share our page, like this video, share this video, especially with people who you think would appreciate some suggestions and some titles that celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. Por favor, para todas las personas que no han hecho esto anterior, por favor pon un like en este video y también en nuestra página de Facebook y en nuestros canales de media social como Twitter y Instagram. As you can tell, for those of you that do speak Spanish, my Spanish is a little bit rusty. I haven't had quite the opportunity to practice as I had before, but I would love to share in English some great titles to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, which runs from September 15th all the way through October 15th, just celebrating the contributions and the diversity within not only our community and within the community around us in Calhoun County, but also in the United States as a whole. For those of you that have never worked with us before or never seen us before, we are a new and used bookstore in downtown Marshall, Michigan. We have books, most of them are in English, but we do have some in other languages, including Spanish. And we specialize in finding new and used books that celebrate all backgrounds and all interests within our community, and we would also love to be able to order books for you if we don't have them on our shelves already for us. You can shop our entire selection on our website, which has been linked in the description for this video, but you can also contact us at the store. You can call us, you can Facebook message us, you can send us an email, and we can help you with finding books that you would enjoy. So for those of you that have watched before, you're in luck because we're going to see some great books. Some of them I've already talked about in other lives before, but I just thought that they were great to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month and to showcase a wide variety of reading interests. And I've also got a bunch of new titles too, ones that I've not shown in previous videos, and ones that are relatively new to our store. So you can, while you're watching live, if you're interested in a book, you can comment below, and if I don't see it at the very moment of the live, I will put it aside for you, and you can reserve it on our website as well. Like I said, you can call us and email us as well. We do also ship throughout the United States, throughout the continental United States. I think we also ship to Alaska and Hawaii if you happen to be watching from those places. We ship for free if you order over $40 worth of materials before taxes, and we also do free local delivery for some of the communities within our region. You can check out our website for a little bit more information on those zip codes. But so without further ado, let's get started with some of the books that I have pulled for us today to take a look at for celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. So all of these books are, sorry, I've got people tugging on the door. All of these books are either ones that are written by people who are Hispanic, or also just celebrate those who are within the Hispanic community. But I think all of the titles are written by somebody who is Hispanic in background. So all of these are titles in English. We do have some of these in Spanish as well, and we have the opportunity to get some of these in Spanish. So if you know of anybody who is interested in finding bilingual books or finding books that are just in Spanish, you can reach out to us, or you can order through our website as well, and we can get those in your hands. So let's get started. So I know I talked about this book last week during the live that I did about biographies that are dealing with tough stuff, with traumas. But this is also one that has still just been really popular, not only in our store, but also in lots of our sister stores. And it is written by a Hispanic author. So we've got Solito by Javier Zamora. It is a memoir about his time when he was separated from his family because they had moved to another country. And so his time of dealing with that separation and also with determining how he was going to be able to reunite with them. So this is a really, really good book for anybody who is interested in seeing more about the experiences of those who are separated from their families because they are moving to other countries for a different, a better lifestyle, and also for those who like those overcoming stories of overcoming the trials and hardships of life. I also want to talk about this book because I got a lot of huge feedback last week about people saying, I didn't know that there was one of these, or I didn't know that this author had written a memoir, because they loved the young adult book that she had written previously. So I also snagged Erica Sanchez's Crying in the Bathroom. She wrote I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter, which won a whole bunch of awards a few years ago as a young adult book, dealing um, with the cultural expectations, not only within families, but also from the community for those who identify as Latino, Latina, or part of the Hispanic community. So this is Erica's collection of, I would say, essays almost, vignettes that deal with different scenarios, different situations that occurred in her life, and how she overcame the difficulties between the pulls of what her family expects of her and what the community expects of her. So if you are interested in any of those kinds of themes, or of once again seeing someone overcoming and becoming very successful despite lots of the hardships and lots of the not necessarily positive expectations of those around you, I'd definitely check out Crying in the Bathroom by Erica L. Sanchez, excuse me. And I could not go and do a Hispanic Heritage Month live without talking about a classic author from Hispanic heritage, or who is of Hispanic heritage and is very well known and is pretty prolific as well, especially in his time. No longer with us, but was very prolific in his time. We've got Gabriel Garcia Marquez's very well known and classic tale, 100 Years of Solitude, Cien Años de Soledad, which won a Nobel Prize for Literature many years ago. And this is one of the most recent, I wouldn't say versions of it, printings of it. So it's got a beautiful cover. I also we don't have them in store right now because we've sold out of them, but we also have carried an illustrated version. So if you know of anybody who already likes this book or likes this author and wants an absolutely gorgeous version of this book, let us know. We can get that ordered for you. But for those of you that don't know anything about this story, it is telling the rise and fall of a mythical and not real town, Macondo, through a specific family's story. So it deals with the trials, tribulations that they go through. It is realistic fiction, so it doesn't really have a whole lot of nonfiction tropes of nonfiction, like fantasy type things within it, despite its beautiful cover going along with that. So this would be great for anybody who likes classics, who likes a lot of deeper meaning type books, who is ready to sit down for something that is decently lengthy, a little bit wordy, but also brings out a lot of considerations for how people deal with those trials and struggles, but not in a non-real way. So highly encourage you to check out Gabriel Garcia Marquez's 100 Years of Solitude if you've never read it before. So this is a pretty recent book as well. This came out within the past month, I do believe. And I have not read this book myself, but I read one of her previous books, and I really appreciated a lot of things about it. And so I'm super excited. This one is on my list to read, but I've got, as many booksellers know, as anybody who really likes books know, you've got a to-read list that is intensely long, insanely long. And so this is the most recent release by Silvia Moreno Garcia. She wrote Mexican Gothic, and this is the daughter of Dr. Moreau. I really like this book. This book's idea is because it takes a classic, so it takes the island of Dr. Moreau, classic story, but it puts a new twist on it. And that's a lot of what Silvia Moreno Garcia does. She takes a lot of classic ideas, classic tropes, and she puts a twist on it. But I love that she always infuses some of her culture, especially her Hispanic culture, into this. So this is almost a retelling of Dr. Moreau's Island, but through the lens of his daughter and in a Hispanic setting. I want to say 1950s Mexico City. That tends to be something that's Moreno Garcia does quite a bit. It does not tell me the time. Mid 19th century Mexico. So yes, it is set in Mexico. But I highly encourage you to check this out if you like retellings, and especially if you're looking for retelling with a person of color as the main character, and especially as a reimagining from another point of view. I've read a couple, I think 2 or 3 other reimaginings of The Island of Dr. Moreau, but I am super excited to pick this one up fairly soon and see how Silvia Moreno Garcia goes through it. So I highly encourage you to check out The Daughter of Dr. Moreau if you have not picked it up yet. And for those of you liking more spooky tales, I've got the perfect book for you to celebrate both Hispanic Heritage Month and spooky season. And a lot of people have made comparisons between this book and Mexican Gothic, which I did read Mexican Gothic. We are out of that in the store, otherwise I'd be talking about that one too. But I like this one better than Mexican Gothic, which is saying something because Gail doesn't read horror books very often. Not very often at all. And I know I've mentioned this one before, but I'm just super excited that we still have it in store, and I would love for someone to pick it up and be able to geek out with me about the storyline with this. So this is the Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. It is set in, this one might be definitely mid-century. Yeah, it's set in the aftermath of the Mexican War of Independence, so it's not mid-19th century, it's pre-19th century. But we've got we've got our heroine, who is, what's her name, Beatriz? Yeah, Beatriz. It's been a minute since I read this one. We've got our heroine, Beatriz, who has been married to a wealthy landowner, and so she moves away from home, and it's kind of her only choice. Because there's nothing else for her after the war for her to be able to do to support herself and to support her mother, and she longs for financial stability. So she marries a wealthy landowner and moves into his hacienda. His hacienda, which has a few spooky things that are going on. She starts seeing things and not imagining things, but she starts seeing things and no one else sees them and no one else believes them. But there's also a lot of shady stuff that's going on in this hacienda, and so I love that it kind of compares. It's called it a cross between Mexican Gothic and Rebecca, the classic story of Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, I think is how you du Maurier, I believe. But if you are interested in spooky books, if you're interested in books with a kind of a psychological twist to them, and also mystery and a little bit of historical, and there's also a touch of romance, I will let you know about that too. Definitely check out the Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. I was also really excited that we had this book in store. I've not read it, but it's moved up on my list after I've learned a little bit more about it over the past couple of weeks. So we have another historical fiction, but this one doesn't have the spooky stuff in it. This is definitely historical fiction for those who like adult historical fiction. And we've got Fali Fajardo Anstein, it's Woman of Light, which is a historical fiction novel that is set in the 30s? Yep, 1930s. We've got our main character, Luz, and so she has just moved to Denver with her family, and she is dealing with not only being a Hispanic woman in a town that is not necessarily so appreciative of that, but also with just learning about a new culture and a new way of lifestyle during all the things that were occurring during the 30s. And so there's lots of themes of family within all of this, and how do you keep family alive, and what do you honor about your family throughout this book. So I highly encourage you, if you like historical fiction and you're looking for something to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, and like a lot of those dealing with what is our family legacy, I would check out Woman of Light by Fali Fajardo Anstein. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I'm just reading it. And then if you're looking for something that is still kind of real life esque, so realistic fiction, but does have a little bit more of an edge to it. I have not read this book yet, but I'm really excited about it. I would definitely check out Katie Gutierrez's More Than You'll Ever Know. This one has been making quite a bit of buzz on the book selling scene. It is kind of told between two timelines. So we've got, I think it's Lore, excuse me, Lore. You got Lore, who's set in the 1980s. Her story is set there. She marries, and some pretty intriguing, I wouldn't say intriguing, but some pretty tough things occur to her during her marriage. Lots of secrets are needed to be buried during that. And then you fast forward to almost present day until I think 2017. I'm pretty sure it said. Let me verify. Yes, in 2017. We've got a true crime writer who encounters an article about a tragedy that occurred in Lore's family, and so she starts to investigate a little bit more. So it's told between the two timelines, and so you kind of are led along with trying to determine what actually happened, who is actually at fault here, and what were the driving forces behind that. So if you like a little bit of mystery, some murder mystery specifically, to intrigue you a little bit there, or if you like the family ties, especially more in present day, and dealing with what is family and how far will you go to protect someone that you love, I would definitely check out More Than You'll Ever Know by Katie Gutierrez. So those are my adult books that I wanted to showcase to you. Now I'm going to move on to talking about some middle reader books. So advancing readers, so those are for the middle grades like upper elementary and middle school. I want to talk about some young adult, and hopefully we've got time for me to also show you a few picture books that would celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. So once again, kind of like Gabriel Garcia Marquez, I don't know that I can do a Hispanic Heritage Month celebration without highlighting Sandra Cisneros' classic, The House on Mango Street. This is a very short book. It's a very beautiful book. I know I had to read it. I read it by myself when I was, I think, in middle school, and then I had to read it again in college, and so I just learned a lot more about it as an adult. There are things that I appreciate more as an adult than I did as a student. But this was a very eye-opening book for me to read when I was younger, because it gave me kind of that pathway into a life that wasn't like mine, which is part of our whole vision here at New Story Community Books, is to open up doorways and open up pathways and windows into seeing other people's ways of living and things that other cultures and other groups value. So The House on Mango Street is a very brief book. It's a very short book, but it encounters, it deals with, it showcases sort of vignettes, quick brief stories within Sandra's life, of her growing up as being a Latina, and how the community viewed her and her family, and also what were some of the important things within her family, cultural things, and relational things within her family that affected her impacted her as she grew. Once again, it's an absolutely gorgeous book, and it is, or no, it's not Cisneros, sorry. It's a story of Esperanza Cordero, but it's based in some of Cisneros' life. But it's just a beautiful book. I highly encourage you to read it even if you're not a middle reader, but definitely plunk this into the hands of an upper elementary. I would probably say middle school student. Middle school students would get more out of this than upper elementary. I highly encourage you to check out Sandra Cisneros' The House on Mango Street. Another book from my childhood that also, I remember reading it and it stuck with me even to an adult. And it's just an absolutely gorgeous book, and it really opened my eyes to a lot of struggles that people outside of my circle might have encountered, not only presently but also in the past. We've got Esperanza Rising by Pam Munoz Ryan. It is just an absolutely beautiful book. Once again, we've got Esperanza in the title for this one too, and that's the main character. So she lived in Mexico and Mexico, and she had a beautiful, wonderful life in Mexico with her family. She was well taken care of. Her family was well off, and she had lots of beautiful things within her life, and everything was going smoothly. And then suddenly something tragic happens to her, and within her family, and they must move, and so they move to California, but they happen to move during the Great Depression. So things are not great, not great during the Great Depression, and especially not great for those who have lost a lot of things within their life and coming from one country to another. So this is just a book that showcased a lot of historical trials and struggles for those who were moving during that time, and also just some immigration experience that occurred not only then, but also some of the themes and the ideas are still very present today. Highly encourage you to check out Pam Munoz Ryan's Esperanza Rising. If you've never read it, and if you have anybody that you think would appreciate a book about a young girl who is coming of age, who is growing up, but also dealing with some major issues that have occurred in her family's life and overcoming some significant struggles because her life is just completely turned upside down. So highly encourage you to check out this book. Something else I'm super excited about for middle readers is that Rick Riordan, and I think I talked about this a few years ago, Rick Riordan, who wrote the Percy Jackson series, has started partnering with own voices authors from different cultures and different backgrounds, and working with some of the with supporting them as they write stories about their cultures mythology. And this is one that has come out fairly recently, and I'm super excited about it, and it's moved up on my reading list as well. So we've got, if you have anybody who liked Percy Jackson in any way, shape, or form, but read through all the Percy Jackson and would like something new, or if you want to try to get somebody learning a little bit more about other cultures' beliefs, we've got The Storm Runner by J.C. Cervantes is the first book in a Rick Riordan Presents series based in Mayan, with Mayan, not culture, what's the word I want? Mayan mythology. There we go. That's the word that I was looking for. So you've got male main character, Zane Obispo, and he likes to explore quite a bit with others, but then suddenly a mysterious girl shows up, and they start having to deal with the releasing of a centuries-old Mayan god who is not necessarily the most pleasant being, and so how are you going to deal with that, and how are we going to recontain that in a quest to save the world and fulfill an ancient prophecy. I highly encourage you to check out The Storm Runner, not only for the Hispanic Heritage Month aspect of it, but just to really encourage students to learn more about other cultures in general, and the mythology and the beliefs that were instrumental in forming cultural values. And if you're looking for another book that's similar to Percy Jackson, but that has a Hispanic character who's female as a lead character, I highly recommend to you to check out Pilar Ramirez and this Escape from Safa by Julian Randall. But this is something I was super excited to see because we often have kids that loved Percy Jackson and they're looking for something similar. But I love that we've got ones that have female main characters. There's a couple other ones we've got on our shelves too, but I'm not going to talk about them today because I've got plenty to talk about today in this live. But highly encourage you to check out this book. So we've got a 12-year-old girl, Pilar, who her middle name is Violeta, so she goes by Perp, because, violet and purple, etc. And she has things that are really big things that are going on in her life. So she lives in Chicago, but things are becoming more gentrified throughout all of that. And she's gotten a lot of big changes happen since some of her family members have left. And so as she is dealing with all of those things, suddenly there are some disappearances that have started occurring. And so her family is from the Dominican Republic. There are some disappearances that start occurring even that occurred previously, and then she starts discovering that there's some connections between older disappearances that happened in the Dominican Republic and some disappearances and some mysterious things that are occurring right now. So I highly encourage you to check out this book if you've got anybody who likes action and adventure and a little bit of mystery with a strong female lead. And to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, check out Pilar Ramirez and The Escape from Zafa by Julian Randall. So now I'm going to talk about a few young adult books. And some of these, like I said, I've mentioned previously because I really like them. I really appreciate them and I love recommending them. But they do celebrate Hispanic heritage. And one of those that I just can't get enough of, and I think that everybody with young adults and everybody, I think everybody should read this book because it's just a beautiful book. Is check out Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Aguirre Sainz, or Benjamin Aguirre Sainz, I think is how you say that. This book, it's so hard for me to describe because people ask, well, what happens in it? And honestly, I wouldn't say there aren't a ton of like action and adventure type things within this. It's all about growing up, but it's about this friendship between Aristotle and Dante, or Ari and Dante, both of whom are Hispanic, and so they've got that in common about themselves. And they just formulate a friendship, and over the course of a year or so, they learn more about each other. And they learn more about their families, they learn more about their culture and their heritage, and they just support each other throughout lots of big things that occur within their lives. And so this book deals with themes of family, of friendship, of growing up, and I highly encourage you to check this out. It's won a zillion jillion awards, as you can see over here, right? But it's just an absolutely beautiful book. So I highly encourage you to check out Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. The sequel just came out. We are out of it in the store, and I cannot remember what it is called. But that one is going to be a book that I'll be reading fairly shortly as well, because I have to know what happened to Ari and Dante after the end of this book. Another great young adult book for those who are looking to expand their horizons beyond just the contributions of Hispanic or the Latino community here in the U.S. and are looking for something set in another country. Highly encourage you to check out Furia by Yamil Said Mendez. This is a book that is set in Argentina and Argentina. And so you've got our main character, Camila, and she kind of leads a little bit of a double life. So at home, she is the straight-laced and good girl daughter of a very, is he a well-known? Not her. Her father's not the one who's famous. Sorry, it's her brother who's very famous. But she is just the well-known, or she's the the good girl daughter of her parents, and she's just the perfect sister to her brother who's a soccer star. But then when she's not at home, she goes and plays soccer on her own, and she is La Furia, or the Fury, who is a fantastic player on the field and just lightning quick and does all of these things on the field that make her very famous within the soccer circles, but her family doesn't know anything about it. But then when she has her team qualify for a South American tournament, so bigger stakes, right? She has to determine, is she going to continue with keeping herself separated from what her passion is and going with her family's expectations, or is she going to pursue that and just come into herself that way? So highly encourage you to check out Furia by Yamil Said Mendez. If you are interested in a book set in another country that celebrates growing up and becoming true to yourself, and also dealing with lots of struggles and family expectations, highly encourage you to check this book out. So another really great author that I love to recommend to students for multiple reasons, or to my students I teach as well, for those that don't know, but also to customers for multiple reasons, is Elizabeth Acevedo, and this is one of her first books that she published, if not her first book. I could not recall off the top of my head. This is The Poet X. Which is kind of the one that I would say shot her to stardom in the young adult writing world. This is a book that is in poetry form, which I absolutely love, and I have lots of people who have loved books set in that way because they're quicker to get through, but they also just can deal with themes and thoughts and ideas in ways that regular prose cannot. So this deals with our main character, I have to say Hiumara, and she is a poet at heart, but she's dealing with lots of expectations, once again, family expectations from her mommy and from her just her family in general, about what she should be and how she should act and what she should do, not only at home but also in the community. And she ends up joining an open mic poetry, I think school slam poetry club, excuse me, which the slam poetry does not always have themes and ideas that her family would approve of. And so she must deal with this, once again, the separation between who her family wants her to be and also who she wants to be and who is she really. Highly encourage you to check out Elizabeth Acevedo if you've never read anything by her. I've read one or two other books by her and I've really appreciated those. But check out The Poet X, which is Hyomena. If you've never read this before, if you have anybody in your life that likes books in poetry form, but also dealing with those kinds of themes and ideas. My last one that I wanted to talk about for young adult stuff before I show you a couple of picture books is one that I have talked about in a couple of other lives before, but it's just such a wonderful book. We keep getting requests for it. It's hard for us to keep on the shelf, and I really think that you should pick it up and you should read it, or you should recommend it. So we've got The Last Cuentista by Donna Barba Higuera. And this is more of a fantastical and more of a dystopian tale. This one could almost blend between middle reader and young adult, though there is a little, I would say, no younger than 7th grade for this one. No younger than 7th grade for this. Excuse me, we've got our main character. This is Petra Peña. Is the main character, and so she comes from a line of people who are cuentistas, who are storytellers, and she has always wanted to be a storyteller, just like her abuelita, just like her grandmother. But then the world has had some difficult things occur to it. It's been destroyed, or been almost destroyed. Yeah, been destroyed, and so there's only a few people have been chosen to move out of the earth and to move on to a new planet. And so she's taking all of those stories of previous life with her and dealing with all of these big changes as she moves on to a new planet with her family. And there's some that don't necessarily want cuentistas around, that don't necessarily want those stories to live on. And so she's got to figure out how she's going to approach that. Highly encourage you to check out The Last Cuentista by Donna Barba Higuera if you have never done so, or if you're interested in a little bit of like dystopian, a little bit of science fiction and fantasy, and also blending in some folklore from, I'm pretty sure it's from Latin America. This one's from Latin America, into the storytelling process. So I'm not going to talk a ton about the following books, just really quick, wanted to show you a few kids books because we at New Story believe that it is important, especially for our youngest readers, to see not only themselves reflected if they identify within that community in the books that they read, but also for students of all backgrounds and kids of all backgrounds, readers of all backgrounds, to see others represented and to learn more about them through some of those stories. Stories are one of the most impactful and powerful ways that you can share a bit about a culture, about a community, and about a person's impact. So we're going to look at a couple of quick picture books really quick. So a beautiful one that I grabbed, oops, look at this cover, is called Dreamers. Look at that beautiful cover. Is by Yuri Morales, and this is a story for anybody who has been through the immigration process or knows anyone who's been through the immigration process, or who would like to share, learn a little bit more with their young ones about the difficulties, the struggles, the trials, and also the beautiful things that can come from moving from one home to a new home. And in a similar vein, I've got Island Born by Junot Diaz, illustrated by Leo Espinosa. So this is a story of a little girl, who I have to remember what her name is. This one's a little bit bigger. Lola. This is a story of Lola, and she is supposed to discuss, or in her school, she is supposed to discuss, learn about what her background is, and she doesn't have a whole lot of memories about where her family came from an island, whereas everybody else in her class has memories of their home countries or their places that they came from before their current place. And so she gets to learn a little bit more about her background throughout this beautiful book. Junot Diaz also wrote Brief and Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde, This is how you lose her, and then there's one other one that he wrote, but that has been very popular. And I was so excited that we had this book in stock. I looked all over, hunted through the shelves for it because it said we had one and I needed to find it, because this goes along with something that's near and dear to my passions, is that kids should see themselves represented in all situations, and see themselves as being able to aspire to big things, regardless of whatever things have come at them in their life. And one of those that kind of showcases that people of different backgrounds can do anything. We've got Sophia Valdez, Future Prez. It's by Andrea Beatty and illustrated by David Roberts. So this is also like the Rose Revere Engineer series. And so I love this book because it's showing a Hispanic kiddo who is looking for or who is dreaming of and who is aspiring to becoming becoming a president, and how she goes through that process. And so I think this is just a really wonderful book for students, for kids of all ages to see, and adults of all ages to see, just this go-getter attitude of Sophia Valdez. I also wanted to grab a nonfiction book that celebrates some Hispanic heritage. And one of the most, I would say, I'm a baseball person. I've watched a lot of baseball throughout my life. That's the sport that I prefer to watch. And this was a name that I knew really, really well, and that I thought was a very important, it was a very important way to, or a very good way to celebrate those who have made a big impact. So we got Roberto Clemente, who was a Pittsburgh Pirates player. My uncle will very much appreciate that, right? He loves the Pirates. And so this is his, I would say, a story of his life and his coming up through the major leagues and his background before that. It's by Jonah Winter, and it's illustrated by Raul Calon. So this book just details his childhood, well, not details, but because it's a picture book, but showcases some of the scenarios from his childhood and growing up and being a great baseball player in Puerto Rico, and also him coming over to play for the Pirates in a new country, with a new language to learn, and new cultural things to learn about, but also the ways that he was able to overcome, and to be very successful, and very impactful as a major sports star. So definitely check out Roberto Clemente, Pride of the Pittsburgh Pirates, by Jonah Winter. And last but not least, my last picture book to showcase to you guys. I was really excited to find this one on the shelf too. We've got, here we go. My Papi as a Motorcycle, by Isabel Quintero and illustrated by Zeke Peña. So this is a beautiful little children's book, about our main character, what's her name again? Daisy Ramona, and her father, as they go and they ride through their town pretty regularly, and just see all of the people, the family members, people that they love, neighbors that they love, but also they see how the town is changing and how their lives are starting to change. And it's just a beautiful beautiful ode to the little girl's hardworking dad, and also to the change that comes as people move in and out, and how they aspire for a different life. So I highly encourage you to check out My Papi as a Motorcycle if you're interested in any of those themes. All right, guys, well, thanks so much for watching. A couple of quick reminders about some events that we've got going on and cool things happening in the store. One of those is that today is the Bewitching Peddlers is occurring right now at Calhoun County Fairgrounds up until 3 o'clock today. And it's just a celebration of all things Halloween, especially lots of art things. We've got a booth there, so go ahead and say hi to us if you are able to swing on out there. We've also got tomorrow at Cafe Rica in downtown Battle Creek. We are planning to be at the Breaking Bread Bazaar, so go and check out our booth there. Go enjoy what hopefully will be a beautiful day, grab some coffee, and see some of the great local artisans from our community during one of the final, I don't think it's the last one, I think there's one more in October, but some of the final celebrations of local artisanship within our community. We also have Skeleton Fest is happening right here in downtown Marshall right now. I see some skeletons out the front. We have not put ours up yet here, but we will. But you should come on down to downtown Marshall and check out all the cool skeletons that are going to be up and celebrating spooky season. And while you're in the store with your kiddos, check out our Where's Scully, or we're participating in the Where's Scully scavenger hunt in downtown Marshall. So we've got a couple of cute little skeletons that are hidden here in the store for kids to find and to mark off. I think that you can get the Where's Scully stuff. I don't remember, it's from the library. I don't remember where you can find the things about that. So we've got Skeleton Fest going on. The last thing I wanted to remind you of is that this is Banned Books Week. We are at the very end of Banned Books Week. Thanks for those of you that have come in and bought some banned books and have supported some of the banned and challenged and burned books within our communities and also within our history. We have a celebration with that. We are not done with celebrating banned books because we want you as readers to continue to seek out those things that have been challenged and to learn more about those. So we've got Banned Books Bingo is going on here at the bookstore. And so it's now through, I don't remember when it ends, but come on in and I will find out. Or send us a message on Facebook Messenger or email us or call us to find out more information about banned books, about the Banned Book Bingo and how you can enter to win a mystery banned book. So, well, thanks so much, guys, for watching. We so appreciate it. Like this video, tag people in the comments, share this video, like our page, and keep on being curious and celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month with us. And thanks for considering us. And we can't wait to help you find a new story. Bye, guys.